Hello, my name is Selena Madden. I am one of the educators with Morbid Anatomy, and welcome to a full moon ritual. Even though it's very bright for me, we're here in the spirit and the energy of the full moon. I've actually been enjoying the moon the last several nights, taking the dogs for a walk. I live in a very lush, beautiful area in Oregon, and there's trees everywhere, and it's been a delight, especially after having come from Los Angeles. But anyway, that is another story. So if you don't have any of the items that I recommended in the email, it's perfectly fine because what's most important is your presence and your energy and your participation and your intention. That's really what it's about. So the items I suggested are just tools. They're just some additives to the experience. First, I'm just going to talk about a little bit about this full moon and what we're going to be doing. I am going to start by lighting a candle. I am a big fan of always opening a space and closing a space. And so lighting this candle in this way is taking a moment to switch from our busy, mundane world into our sacred practice, our ritual practice, our time for ourselves and for our community. So we're in a season of harvest, and this is the fruit laden full moon. When we talk about harvest, it's not just about what we are receiving, because the full moon is also a time of culmination. And we know through different traditions and different cultures and different time frames that the moon was not experienced as a decoration. It regulated the tides, it influenced planting and hunting and migration and our ritual calendars, women's bodies, and communal life. When the moon became full, that indicated that something had reached completion. And notice I'm not saying perfection, I'm saying completion. We're thinking of a ripeness, and that is different from perfection because a fruit does not become perfect, but it becomes ready. So, this particular moon is often called the fruit moon because in the northern hemisphere, orchards begin bending beneath the peaches and the plums and the apples and the figs and the berries, all of these abundant fruit laden plants. And the fields begin revealing what those months of quiet labor have made possible. Harvest also reminds us of an uncomfortable truth. You cannot harvest the day after planting. Everything living has its own season. And one of the greatest difficulties that we experience in modern Western society is that we expect and hope for immediate transformation. We expect a healing to happen quickly. We want that burst of creativity. We want that relationship to happen right away, that perfect partner to come into our lives. We want a new identity overnight, quickly. But nature, as we know, does not listen to, much less obey, any sense of urgency. And let's consider seeds that we've planted disappear into the darkness before they ever become visible. The roots always precede the blossoms, and so the fruit always comes last. All agricultural traditions understood this. And if we look at mythologies, in Greek, we have Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, her daughter Persephone, who was abducted into the underworld. And when she came back to the land above, she brought spring, she brought the light, she brought abundance. We have the grain mysteries. We have the cycles of Isis and Osiris in the Egyptian traditions. We have the death and the return of vegetation gods across the ancient Mediterranean. Sorry, Jafar got excited. So these myths remind us that abundance is never separate from the descent. And now we have another dog. The dogs love ritual. And nothing ripens without first passing through hiddenness, that which is hidden, that which is in the shadow, that which is out of view. One of my favorite words, those of you who know me know I love the word thresholds. My work and my personal life possibly are constantly at a threshold. And a threshold is not just a place between worlds, it's a place where something can become something else. So the green fruit becomes nourishment at that threshold. The flower becomes the fruit. The seed becomes the tree. The student becomes the teacher, and the wounded becomes the healer. And the seeker becomes the one who can now guide. So some of the questions I invite you to ponder or journal about this evening, and I can put these in the chat. The first is, where have you ripened? Let me put this in the chat. And I want to make a distinction. It's not where have you finished, it's where have you ripened? And what qualities have quietly grown inside you this year? Some examples: patience, discernment, boundaries, maybe compassion, maybe courage. The harvest is often invisible until someone asks us to notice it. So take a minute with those questions. And if you haven't already written something down, or you can just hold it in your mind, maybe hold it in your heart. So where have you ripened, and what qualities have quietly grown inside you this year? Okay, we'll talk a little bit more. So fruit has an extraordinary purpose. The tree does not grow fruit for itself. Fruit exists to feed another. Fruit carries sweetness. It carries nourishment. It carries seeds. So consider this mythically and archetypally. Every act of generosity contains the possibility of another beginning. So perhaps abundance is not measured by what we possess. Perhaps abundance is measured by what we are capable of nourishing. So one of my goals for tonight is to celebrate both of these gifts, the fruit we have received and the fruit that we have become. So if you have a piece of fruit, go ahead and take it in your hands and really observe it. I've got some blackberries. So look at the color, feel the texture, notice the weight, maybe a fragrance. Just take a moment really connecting with this piece of fruit. And if you don't have a physical piece of fruit, maybe imagine something. Or you can look at my blackberry. So ask yourself, wonder, how many months did this fruit take? How many invisible relationships made this possible? So what do I mean by that? The sun, the rain, the pollinators, the soil, time, and the hands. Because no harvest is individual. If you have some incense, feel free to light it. I'm going to open up the circle. The tradition that I practice is essentially contemporary European witchcraft. Um, Sometimes it may be known as Wicca. That's a discipline within this type of witchcraft. So again, those of you who know me are a little bit familiar with my ways. So I like to start at the north. It doesn't have to be true north, but if you're situated at an altar, and maybe you're just sitting at a table with your computer or your phone, whatever feels like it's going to be north to you. And if you have an athame or a wand or a dagger, I have all of the above, a piece of selenite, and you do want to draw a circle with me. If you have none of these things, you can just use your finger. We do this mudra, and that is like your pointer finger. So I start at the north, and you can close your eyes if you wish. And we're going to call in the powers of the north, the element of earth, and invite them into our circle this evening. You're going to take a quarter turn clockwise. And here we call in the powers of the east, of air, to join us in our circle this evening. And a quarter turn again to the powers of the south, of fire, to join us in our circle this evening. And a quarter turn again. This is the power of west, of water. We invite you into our circle this evening. And one last quarter turn back to the north. As you complete your circle, maybe it's taken the form of mist or an ivy wall, maybe a fruit tree, but you're imagining this lovely circle. This is your container for spell working. And now if you have a bowl of water, go ahead and take that. It's nice and cool for me. Now hold your fingers over the bowl and consider that water remembers, and water nourishes, and water receives. And go ahead and dip your fingers into the water. And take this moment of blessing from the water. You may touch your forehead, perhaps your heart, perhaps your throat, perhaps your lips. And you're accepting this simple blessing from the water. And let's come back to our fruit. And as you hold your fruit, ask your fruit to imagine every invisible relationship, the ones that we spoke of, time, soil, the pollinators, the sun, and just invite gratitude for nourishing you with this fruit. And I speak of these things archetypally again, because it's not only the fruit. We are offering this gratitude to the actual blackberries or pears or whatever you have. But this is also the invisible relationships that have nourished you. So just take a moment for that. If you'd like to journal anything, you may do some writing, and I'm going to offer 3 more prompts. And they are, what has ripened within me? What nourishment have I received this season? And how am I being invited to nourish others? Hearing a dog snore next to me is quite delightful. For those of you who have done this with me for a while, you may remember that the dogs used to be very rambunctious, and now here they are sleeping. I guess they feel nourished too. I'd also invite, if you want to popcorn into the chat, maybe one couple word answers to some of these questions. I'd love to hear what's coming up for everyone. So, what has ripened within me? What nourishment have I received this season? And how am I being invited to nourish others? And you don't need to specify unless you'd like what your answers are pertaining to. I'll put something in. Mm, mm, beautiful. I love it. Mm, very nice. I'm realizing because I don't share the chat with the recording, so I would just like to read them so that those who are jumping in later can see what some of you are putting in. So we have, well, I put in creativity, mother energy. We have resilience. We have joy and discipline. All the wonderful women in my life. I feel nourished by the community we have built this year around these rituals and the classes. Self-trust, love, understanding and care, unconditional love and support from others and myself. Inspiration has ripened in me, and I have received support and validation. I can nourish others with my heartful approval. What has ripened? I'm recognizing and now aware of some old patterns and habits that aren't healthy or helpful. I can let them go. I would like to invite, that last one is giving me something that I'd like to offer, especially if you are letting something go. I love burning things to release. You can do it now if you have the equipment. For instance, like a little cast iron cauldron. If you don't have something to burn in now, you can always save this for later when it's safe and convenient to do so. And take a piece of paper or maybe take an herb or a leaf, like a bay leaf is good, and you write it on there. So release whatever it is, and you can burn that, and it feels good. It feels really good. If burning is not an option, sometimes you can take your paper or the leaf and put it in water and just kind of mash it up. And then pour the water in a plant. You can also bury it. You can put it in a house plant. You can put it in a garden, in the yard. And yes, I see someone burning. I love it. You can use this same practice to call in. You just need to be very specific. So I am calling into me my nourishment. So you can do the same. Bay leaf is typically used for releasing something. So I would use a piece of paper, or for calling in, you could use like a rose leaf and write on with a Sharpie on it. You can use lavender. You can also sprinkle these things on the paper if you can't actually write on the herb or the flower or the plant. So typically flowers are going to help call something into you, and the bay will help release it. Do I see anybody else burning? I think I do. Now, if you have your candle and you have your fruit, take my berry, hold your fruit over your candle, and go ahead and repeat after me. May what has ripened in me be shared with wisdom. May what I have received continue through me. May I become nourishment for the communities I love. And mindfully, patiently, go ahead and take a bite of your fruit. Maybe let it sit on your tongue for a moment and really notice the flavors, notice the texture, notice if it's cool, if it's sweet, if it's juicy. And again, while you have that fruit in your mouth, I'll repeat. May what has ripened in me be shared with wisdom. May what I have received continue through me. May I become nourishment for the communities I love. Hoping you can hear this. Every harvest contains another seed. Tonight, we're celebrating what has come into fullness. It's not because the journey is over, because life continually moves through seasons of becoming. My hope for this evening is that you may leave here with a greater trust in your own timing. My hope is that you recognize the fruit that already hangs from the branches of your life. And I hope that you receive it with gratitude and that you share it with generosity. And I ask that you remember that abundance is not measured by what we keep, but by what continues to grow through us. We have plenty of time for conversation. You have plenty of time, all the time you want, to remain in your circle. For the benefit of those who wish to close their circle, I'm going to go ahead and close this one just for demonstrative purposes, but we have more time to sit here together. So similar to the way we began, I take my athame or my fingers or my wand or branch. And again, we start at the north, your north. And we think of the direction north and the elemental correspondence of earth. And we thank them for joining us in our circle this evening. And now you quarter turn counterclockwise to the powers of the west, of water. Thank you for joining us in our circle this evening. Quarter turn to the powers of south, of fire. Thank you for joining us this evening. To the powers of east, of air. Thank you for joining us this evening. And final quarter turn as your circle opens, maybe the mist drops, the wall drops, the branches retreat away. And if you'd like, you can draw the shape of a pentacle. You can draw a heart. And now we consider that the circle is open, but the weaving continues until we gather again. I'm going to stop the recording.